Sup fam, my name is Stix, and today I want to go over what I believe are the best MMORPGs available to play right now. This very second. As of 2017. Not upcoming MMORPGs, no. MMORPGs that are currently already out and fully playable right now. That way, if you've never heard about one of these games before or just want to get back into playing them again, then you can go right on ahead and download them. This list won't be in any specific order as they honestly cater to different kinds of players and different kinds of niches. Instead, they'll be listed as they pop into my head. Just one quick question though before we get into this list. What is your favorite MMORPG? Alright, so let's kick this off with a good but often overlooked MMORPG, The Secret World. Now, let me just start off by saying that The Secret World is a hell of a lot of fun to play. I had my doubts initially when going in, but after taking the time to both play and enjoy the game, I found it to be significantly more entertaining than I thought it could be. The story in The Secret World is great, like more than great. The storytelling, how they craft the story, and the world is top tier. But what do you expect from a game that requires you to pay money to play it, right? Combat is probably the main area that the game lacks in, to be completely honest with you. Graphically, the game looks good, but the combat definitely leaves a lot to be desired. If you're in a fast combat or even traditional combat like WoW, then you're probably going to find the Secret World to be clunky and awkward. Is that enough to make the game bad though? Hardly. The Secret World is one of multiple examples of a great quality paid MMORPG. It does have its flaws, but it is worth playing if you haven't already tried it. I mean, hey, it might surprise you like it did me. I doubt you find many MMORPGs with as fun a story as The Secret World has, nor will you find many that execute it nearly half as well. So, everyone probably knows about Final Fantasy XIV by now. I know, you don't need to remind me. I actively play it every week after all. Final Fantasy XIV is one of the only popular Japanese MMORPGs on the market, and that's due to it being a really good MMORPG. So it went through a rough patch when it launched originally, but has since turned itself around into one of the most popular MMORPGs on the market. Now, people often find the main fault with the game is its combat, as the global cooldown on skills is longer than most MMORPGs, and that in turn makes combat a lot slower. At least early on, when you don't really have access to many skills and there aren't really many mechanics to following dungeons and raids. Graphically though, the game looks fantastic. It's nothing groundbreaking, sure, and some people may think it looks fairly inferior in comparison to newer MMORPGs like Bless, and it very well may be. Final Fantasy XIV is getting its second expansion, Stormblood, though, this June, and it looks damn amazing. Graphical overhauls, combat overhauls, new areas, new classes. If you're not a fan of Final Fantasy XIV but do want to get in before the expansion hits, then now is your chance. You have a few months before everything gets packed, the queue times make you want to kill yourself, and then you finally make it in, and then the servers crash. The reason, though, that Final Fantasy XIV is here is because it's one of the most complete traditional MMORPGs out there with no pay-to-win bullshit, a great class trinity system, and a hard-working development team. I'm sure a lot of you guys have either played RuneScape 3 or old school RuneScape at one point if you're an avid MMORPG player. Therefore, you no doubt saw this one coming. Now, RuneScape is a much older MMORPG than some of the other games in this list, but that is part of its charm. That's also where the communities divide between old school RuneScape and RuneScape 3. See, old school RuneScape is where the majority of the longtime players ended up migrating to, as they've been playing the game for so long and didn't like the direction RuneScape 3 went in terms of streamlining and polishing a lot of the features and gameplay. Now, it's difficult for me to really say which of the two is the better iteration of the game, but they each have their own selling points. One of the reasons RuneScape, at least to me, is worth mentioning is that the game itself is more than your sink a week or two into it and hit max level kind of MMORPG. Instead, taking quite a bit more time invested into making it to max level. Adding on to that is the fact that unlike most MMORPGs, the real game isn't locked behind the current endgame. RuneScape allows you to instead take your time and enjoy the leveling experience. One of the other MMORPGs I happen to spend quite a few hours in each week, Guild Wars 2, is a very different kind of MMORPG to the traditional ones you're used to. This can either be a good thing for you or a very bad one. Now, most traditional MMORPGs have you explore a fantasy world filled with NPCs that offer a wide variety of quests for you to do. Guild Wars 2 doesn't really have a normal questing system at all. Instead, you're able to participate in local events that happen around the zone, in essence, removing the need to search out quest hubs and need to really interact with NPCs at all. Which is where some people may dislike this specific aspect of the game. Now, I did find it strange the first time I played Guild Wars 2. You know, not being able to go to quest hubs, not being able to take the 3-4 quests from the NPCs there and then run around trying to complete them all. This isn't a bad thing though, at least for most. It definitely makes things simpler and faster. The combat in Guild Wars 2 is great as well, giving you different sets of skills depending on which weapon types you have equipped, allowing for some fantastic class building combinations. One of the things I find sets Guild Wars 2 apart the most is the incredibly friendly community and its densely populated zones. I mean, the game is always just so full. Okay, so some of you might hate the fact that this game is on here, and I would completely understand that. I mean, I'm sure I'll get some flack for including it, to be honest. Maybe even lose a few subs. I don't know. But hey, the fact is that Black Desert is actually a damn good game to play. Its combat is top tier. Its graphics, excluding the often complained about popping in, are ridiculously good looking. There is a large variety of unique classes to choose from, with the exception of them being gender locked, and the world is a huge open sandbox. Technically, this game should be selling itself. However, the main complaint that stopped it from being truly competitive as a title is the fact that people claim the pay-to-win aspects make the game unbalanced. Just let me clear this up real quick by saying that it may be a little pay-to-win in respect that you can pay for items that don't necessarily benefit you or give you an advantage, but you can technically sell them for in-game gold, which in turn is used to get further ahead through, for example, upgrades. So, technically it could be pay to win, but at the same time it doesn't really offer anything that would technically be classified as pay to win. Regardless, Black Desert is fun. We've made it to our maybe late 50s, but we ended up not really enjoying our classes as much, so we kinda stopped. Only temporarily at least. The thing that stands out about Black Desert though is the fact that you don't really have to play the game the same way as everyone else. You can become a farmer, you can raise horses, you can spend all day grinding, you can fish until your brain bleeds. You can just spend time exploring everything, everywhere, you know? Black Desert offers you so much freedom, and I guess some people just forget about that and would rather just criticize it. So TERA is definitely worth being in here, as it has one of the greatest combat systems of all time. Plus, if it weren't for TERA, we probably wouldn't have all the perverts we currently do in our MMOs, am I right? Alright. So, TERA, barring Black Desert, has some of the greatest action combat in an MMORPG. It does, there's no real questioning that. It's a little dated, sure, and the graphics aren't really as amazing as they once were, but TERA is still a gorgeous game to this very day. With the exception of the early zones, TERA offers some amazing open exploration coupled with fun, fast combat while sticking surprisingly well to the traditional MMORPG formula. TERA is a very, very polished MMORPG, and the dev team that works on it are amazing, pulling out constant updates, class overhauls, and additional classes at that. However, recently they do seem a little too obsessed with the race and gender lock classes. I mean, okay, I like playing female characters, sure. But I also enjoy playing male ones as well. Therefore, I naturally want to try out the new classes. But at the same time, I don't want to be forced into making another Castanic female for the 4th time. Regardless, TERA is one of the most complete action MMORPG on the market right now, and the fact that it's free to play is a bonus. I know all of you guys knew this one was coming. Whether you love WoW or hate WoW, the fact is that the MMORPG market wouldn't be anything like it is today without it. WoW is about as traditional as MMORPGs can get, while simultaneously attempting to bring out new ideas and push new features into the world. Granted, it may end up turning out terribly. Hello? Garrisons, anyone? But the fact is that for everything WoW, or Blizzard, actually does wrong, they do multiple things right. WoW has been one of the most copied games, or at least MMORPGs ever, with MMORPGs like Ion, Rift, and Allods to name a few attempting to clone its success. However, people always found WoW more entertaining, more engaging, even though it doesn't really have the best combat, even though it doesn't really have the greatest graphics. Even with all the things that Blizzard do wrong with the game nowadays, the fact is that WoW is probably the most complete, the most updated, the most talked about MMORPG on the market still. Not even huge games like Guild Wars 2, Final Fantasy XIV, or The Elder Scrolls Online can compete with it, even though they're the closest games that can. That is why World of Warcraft is on this list. Also, P.S. I still play and enjoy Legion. It's a great expansion. Much better than Warlords of Draenor in my opinion. Except the PvP. But that is a whole nother video. So guys, there you have it. This is my list of MMORPGs you should be playing currently if you aren't already. These are the best MMORPGs out there right now as of March 2017. This may change by the end of this year, and that's probably unlikely, but hey, positivity, right? So, if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to sub to stay updated with other videos like this one. And let me know what MMORPG you believe is the best right now in the comments below.